Yes, now, and welcome back to episode 116 of the Top Loaded podcast. And we are joined by a very special guest yet again today, who we will be introducing very shortly. But H, how you doing, my friend?
Yeah, very well, thank you, mate. Very well. Obviously, the Premier League season has now come to an end, so we've only got a couple of weeks before the Euro starts. But otherwise, football's now on a pause for the next couple of weeks. But otherwise, yeah, mate, can't sound too bad. Can't complain. How about yourself?
Yeah, I can't complain. I can complain. I've actually got people trying to see me now because they know Arsenal are not playing. So I've had to make some excuses up for the next 2 weeks until the Euros. But it's all good. Finally, time to get back on the golf course. So I'm very happy with that one. And before I do introduce our very, very special guest who's rejoining us for the first time in 2024, just a reminder that this episode is powered by Third Down to Space, your number one space for all your card supplies, custom card stands, great preparation kits, on the sponsor at the back of our guest lovely shirt. And there's no need time now to say use TTP10 at checkout for 10% off. But now introducing the one and the only Lavender himself, Mr. LavBreaks. How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, like I say, really happy that you're joining us. Obviously, this was arranged prior to the charity match, but we're not going to be talking about that yet. And I do say yet, because there's a certain talking point that I think that we need to cover after the London card shows is Topps v Panini. Obviously, it's rumbling on underneath of still everyone. Are you for Topps? Are you for Panini? Are you in between? It's quite an interesting topic, and I think we should talk about it in terms of what we prefer, what do you think's best for the hobby. Because I think no matter what, everyone's going to like certain aspects of Panini, Topps, even though some people are very strong and extreme. So, H, obviously, when it did break the news about Topps obviously getting the Premier League license for in a couple of seasons' time, it got met with a lot of criticism at the same time as optimism. But let's not forget, and let's put it on record, that Topps did have this 6 years ago. They got it extended their license because of the COVID. So it's going back to Topps, but it's been quite a reaction from it, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's one of those announcements as such that shakes the hobby up a little bit. It's massive, to have a staple product like Panini Prism that is now no longer going to be in existence. It's going to go back to Topps Chrome. Is one of those where the majority of the hobby, to some degree, have probably only been in it since they've known Panini Prism. Even for me personally, I wasn't in the hobby when Topps Chrome Premier League was out. I've only known about it since being in the hobby. So for many people, they only know Panini Prism. So to now have that, as I said, that staple product, that sort of main release for the Premier League is now taken away and reverted back to Topps Chrome. Arguably, that's why I think there's so many pros and cons, because you know how good Topps Chrome is. You've seen it in F1, you've seen it in UCC Champions League. Like it's a good product. It's a staple product. It's not necessarily anything that's under par, but it's just a shake-up. I think there are a lot of pros for it. There are a lot of cons for it to a certain extent. It's one of those where you look at QC. Arguably, is Topps better at QC than Panini is? Is that a pro or is it a con? The actual card designs, for me, the Topps Chrome from 2016, 2017 compared to Panini Prism, there's a lot going for either. So it's difficult trying to give an answer without just sitting on the fence. But it's such early doors to try and make a commitment to being one-sided in an argument when you don't know exactly the full details. So like I said, it's just a shake-up. I think it's a big shake-up for the hobby. It's caused it's ruffled a lot of feathers. Don't get wrong, I think it's still exciting to have that Topps Chrome element back. You know how sought after Topps Chrome is from 2016-17. So to have that now brought into the current day and seeing what Topps can do with the card designs, with the inserts, with parallels, and just sort of see what they can bring to the table is going to be the most exciting part of it. Yes, are there going to be some backdoors for not having Prism in there? Arguably, there is. For me personally, even just the manga being released, unbelievable. But Topps Chrome do offer a different aspect, different side of the story. So, like I say, it's too early doors to try and make a massive commitment to one side, because from past experience in different sports how popular Topps Chrome is, but equally how well Prism is done. So it's going to be a matter of time. It's going to be a waiting game to figure out, what side you want to sit on. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but what sort of opinion you want to form before, I guess, you start getting too ahead of yourself.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And one of, like I say, there's always going to be pros and cons. And obviously, coming up to you, obviously, you come from a breaking background as well. And I think one of the things that people do overlook with Topps is their actual accessibility within the UK. Obviously, their boxes, either raffle system or first come, first served basis on their website, in comparison to Panini, where realistically the only product you can get on there is Score or Elite when it comes out. So, do you think that's going to be another good aspect for the UK with Topps, that they are more involved in the UK market? And obviously, with Fanatics in the long run, there is a lot of talk about Fanatics getting more involved as well in the UK scene. And it's going to be good, not just for the breakers, but also the end consumer like us that just want to buy a box.
Yeah, 100%. I think if you look at it this way, like I've bought quite a few boxes from Topps, but never bought a box directly from Panini, personally, anyway. And I think having the better accessibility over here from Topps is it's a no-brainer, really. Like for breakers and even people that like to rip their own boxes, obviously it's always good to go through like people like Sports Trading Cards UK, Sports Cards Direct, but getting it straight from the source, as you would say, for retailers means the best way to get it, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, especially when it comes to these big releases. I think like a perfect example is what we've recently had, likes of Finest and stuff like that coming available if you do want to buy a box. Obviously, with certain Panini products and certain Topps products, the price is so high that it end up most of the time entering breaks anyway. I think the example was actually the Arsenal Invincible set for Arsenal collectors that was at £400. The odds of someone buying a box of 400 is quite low. But when the boxes are like 50 to 100, people will get involved. And obviously there is downsides, like some of our favorite sets will be in Panini, which no longer exist. I would say Prism's obviously one that everyone goes to, but there's other ones like Chronicles, Obsidian, Impeccable. But then on the other hand, Panini, have they really used the license of the Premier League to the full extent? I would like to know if they had the rights, because during the World Cups and Euros, Panini have done the Adrenaline, like the actual on-demand set. And I think they're a fantastic release. Just like Topps now, but live, like why not, for example, 3 weeks ago, someone scores a hat-trick. You bring out a special card celebrating that. They do it for the Bundesliga and Topps. They used to do it in the Premier League when they had the license Topps. So obviously, Panini and they've done it. So, Lav, I know I'm going to come to you with this one because I know me and you both share a mutual love for Topps Now and especially the parallel. So, are you hoping to see potentially that Topps Now Premier League aspect return as well?
If Topps Now comes back to the Premier League, I'm going to have no money left. Because that's if we start putting performances in those. But Topps Now it's by far my favourite. Like the purple parallels, the black and the gold, obviously, they just look so phenomenal. And like to collect the full set throughout a season of like all the purples would be, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like there's always going to be that aspect of certain people will prefer certain sets. So obviously, if you hate, I know you said before, and just referring back to it, obviously you've really liked the manga set from the latest Prism, and there's been other insets as well. The Groovy, I know you've got one, like a couple of, like you've been eyeing up them as well. So it's never going to please everyone, and to every individual collector, they're going to have certain cards they prefer in different mate. Obviously, it's a shame that so-called Topps will have a kind of a monopoly on the system of they're going to have the Champions League and the Premier League and the Euros. Obviously, now Panini have got the Women's World Cup license, which is not really being used that well at the moment. They've got the Men's World Cup, which obviously only every 4 years anyway. So is it now a case that we're sadly looking that Panini, especially in the soccer world, that their licensing are running really thin? And if something, even though I can't see them losing the World Cup license for the moment, but they lose that, it's going to be a real kick in the teeth for them and potentially would end like that history of Panini in football. Or do they just go back to stickers? It's quite an interesting one to see how it plays out within the next 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's the same view with Fanatics coming in, and it's going to be one of those where we're going to have to, skip forward 2-3 years and review this back in the time and think actually what we thought was going to happen or what we possibly anticipated happening, we could be a million miles away from what actually does happen. So yeah, I think they've got to walk on a fine line because they don't want to throw all their eggs in one basket and forget about everything else. but equally they've got to try and spread the focus out amongst all of the products that they're going to have. So, you know, I don't think anything, you can't take anything away from the stickers and the sticker albums and those sort of, you know, there's side aspects where it will always do well. So, yeah, I think it's literally a matter of time. You know, we can sit here and speculate, we can sit here and anticipate, we can sit here and gamble, guess, whatever we want to do. But until we know more information or until we understand, you know, there are so many pros for it, like you just mentioned about Tops now. You know, with Panini Instant, you know, the last time I remember seeing them doing a Panini Instant was obviously at the Euros. It was the Euros, wasn't it? Yeah, it was the Euros. Or the World Cup, sorry, yes. But again, you know, then you got the Tops now from the Champions League, from the Europa League, but bringing that back now to the Premier League, where you probably got the likes of people that remember it, like the Harvey Elliott scoring, is it the youngster score a goal for Fulham, or you know, there's Arsenal Tops now that we see on eBay, and when he's got a couple of them. So there are so many different elements that people have either not explored enough / forgotten about that are now going to come back into the front line. But there are also, it's so heavy on Panini that people are going, oh my God, Panini did this, Panini did that, Panini got this set, that it's going to be taken away from them. So it swings and roundabouts. It really is. So I think, yeah, it's just going to be a matter of waiting for it, biding the time, and just sort of seeing as more information gets released, what the outcome is going to be and what to expect going forward, I guess.
Yeah, like you're saying, I think it's perfectly just to conclude like this segment. Just obviously what you mentioned before, that a lot of people that are reacting to this situation, don't get me wrong, few of them are like long-term players in the hobby, and they were around when it went from Tops to Panini, and it was similar people when it's like, oh, don't really want to get rid of Tops Chrome, but obviously then everyone falls in love with all the other sets. It's like I say, it's just how it goes with licensing, and it's not a case of Panini haven't done their job well enough that Tops have now got the license. It's just Fanatics is a very big powerhouse when it comes to acquiring licenses for certain prices. So it's going to be one of them that the only thing that's going to tell is time. So it's going to be one that it's not even going to be next season, it's the season after that. So it's going to be intriguing. I think everyone's going to look forward to that. Maybe that, especially the first Premier League Sapphire when it comes out. Then actual debut sets, what weren't available last time, are going to be the ones that do really well. And we've seen it a lot with Women's Chrome, Women's Sapphire, for example. Euro stuff. Obviously, it's not been the best releases so far. I think even Tops would admit that one. So time will tell. But my last question is, obviously, I don't think anyone can. It's hard to side with Tops or Panini. But like, for example, with Chelsea's license, obviously, I find it quite nice that with being your team in Europe all the like in the times as well. Obviously, Chelsea Tops of Chelsea license. Do you like it that Panini have actually got a Premier League license, because it gives you the aspect of Tops and Panini cards being available for a Chelsea collector?
Yeah, 100%. I think having the sort of what's the word, like the variety of sets you can get them in. Like I know Chelsea went in most the Chrome sets and stuff this year because obviously we're in Europe, but it still had the team set.
Say it louder, lad. Say it louder. What weren't you in?
Well, we're in it now. But how many times have you won
it? Touche.
Where was I? Yeah, not being in those sets obviously last year took a big sort of not a hit to the PC, but obviously because we signed so many players, it was hard to like get them in the top sets until they released like the team set. But I actually got some of the team set cards here, and they're all right. They're quite the same to like last year's one, but yeah, I think losing Panini is going to be a bit of a shame, really, because I do really like Prism and Chelsea in Prism, but I'm excited to see what Tops do with it, and the Tops now thing is a big thing for me. So
yeah, definitely. I know as soon as that comes out with Chelsea's new signing cards, you'll be ordering bundles of everything. So, like you say, save your money now. I think that's probably the recommendation for you. Obviously, H, any closing words on? Obviously, like I say, it's going to be one that rumbles on for a couple of years, this debate, even past that. But any other feelings about the deal? Optimistic, pessimistic? Like, how are you feeling about it in general?
I think there's always got to be a sense of optimism when there's a big change like this. You know, you can't jump straight on the negative bandwagon, because it's only going to just snowball into, you know, there's no hope. So, you know, anyone can see the track record that Topps have got with Topps Chrome, whether that be an F1, whether that be across the Champions League. It's a good set. And equally, you've got the element of Sapphire as well. Although, Prism has breakaway choice, first of the line, etc., to have that Topps Chrome Sapphire back in the Premier League, obviously, is a massive stepping stone. But yeah, I think there's always got to be a sense of optimism. You can't be too negative or disheartened by it all. But like I said, it's just going to be a case of having to sort of wait and see, and nearer the time, what gets released, what we can expect to see. But yeah, there's definitely got a sense of optimism in there, 100%.
Yeah, like I say, it's everyone's going to feel it differently. Obviously, some people will be very fanatical about it, pardon the pun. But it might actually do well for certain card prices, some of the shorter print stuff, some of the early years of Panini stuff. But then likewise, it might then jog people's memory when the new Topps Chrome comes out, and they might actually chase some of the older sets. So it's time will tell that one. But while you've got the chance of connecting Panini and Topps, if you want to do it, might as well. Like I say, there's a load of cards out there. There's always going to be a load of cards out there, whether it's national level, club level, on the continent, whatever it may be. But it's going to be good fun. And like I say, we're saying about Topps and Panini, and both have had recent releases. What are actually quite, again, been very talked about. And I was going to say, I was going to start with Finest, but I don't think there's anywhere to start but the Donruss release, which I think is quite intriguing. That Donruss is one of the staples of the Panini calendar when it does release. Obviously, has the blend of optic and base cards with lovely inserts. Obviously, you've got your kabooms, what a big one that people do chase, and that is the talking point. So, obviously, these new parallels, for people who don't know the NBA, they do have kabooms, and they're very different in terms of, obviously, it's like the silver foil, like the explosion parallel, which is the base version. Then you could get like gold, what a number to 10, the green one of ones. It was leaked quite a while ago that their numbered kabooms were returning to soccer as well. However, they have not gone for the full coloured background. They have gone for just the writing of kaboom changing. So for people who haven't seen it, the writing in kaboom is normally like an orangey, yellowy colour. For gold, it's just gold writing. For black, it's just blacked out writing, which you can't really make out the word kaboom that well. So obviously, comparing it to the NBA ones, it's not as nice. I don't think anyone's going to agree that it's as nice. But are you a fan of them, or is it a bit of a letdown for you?
I don't think I'm not a fan. Like I'm not. I don't look at it and think that's absolutely shocking from Panini. But given what the NBA looks like in terms of their parallels, yeah, don't get me wrong, it's not up to that same standard. It's not up to that same caliber as the ones that the NBA have. However, I still don't think it's horrendous. Like, a lot when the first sort of numbered kaboom was pulled, and people were going ham, obviously, on the design and how shocking they are. And Panini have been mugging them on this, mugging them that. So I don't think it's quite that severe, but I am on the same page where I do think they've missed the trick. I don't think it's as standout. I don't think it's as at the same level as the NBA kabooms, where they've got that coloured, full colour parallel. I don't hate it. I don't think it's horrible, but I just don't think they've done it to the same standards as it should have been done that they did do in the NBA. It's still a lovely parallel. It's still a cracking parallel. I think the hit itself is brilliant, but I just think they probably could have just stayed on the same tracks with the way they did the parallels kabooms. But yeah, like I said, I don't dislike them. I don't think it's a bad idea. I don't understand why they've drifted away from what they've done previously.
Yeah, no, I think for context for people who might not know the NBA version, it's not actually released within their Donruss release. It's actually announced in their Crown Royale, which is more of a so-called premium set. It's averaging about 3 to 5 times the value of a Donruss box. So I don't know if that's played into account with Panini, maybe thinking because it's a slightly cheaper release, they don't want it to make it as high end. But obviously, Lav, you're seeing quite a bit of Donruss be broken now. You're seeing some of these inserts named. Before we talk about the rest of the sets, I still think it's quite interesting to. But for you, obviously, I know as well you've had your eye on NBA cards in the past. Obviously, Devin Booker, Kaboom would probably be a lovely one you would add to your PC, and obviously a number. But how did you first react as well when it was changed? Because it was a surprise to everyone. Everyone just presumed it was going to be that blanket back gold or green or whatever it might have been.
I just can't understand why they've done it. Like, it just seems they've missed the trick. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, why on earth would you change something so iconic and make it I mean, it is subpar, and it's not as good. We can all say that. Like, I don't understand. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. That's what the whole like idea. Yeah, like
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that was a lot of people's reaction. They didn't know really what to say because everyone's expecting people were mocking up the images of what they could potentially look like. Don't get me wrong. If we take away the parallels from them, I actually genuinely think they've done quite well with that. The actual image design of the cards and the images selected on the actual kabooms are very nice. The Diego Maradona kaboom, I think, is one of the nicer releases of a Maradona card, not using the same pictures all the time. So they've done that well. However, Donruss on a whole thing, I'm not quite impressed with it. There's another insert that I just don't like altogether. It's probably one of the only inserts I really don't like is Night Moves. I genuinely really liked it in last year's release. I thought it looked really nice. But this one just looks like a cheap insert that you'd get in every other pack. Not like near enough like a case hit. I just don't get with the Nightmare. I don't know what it's meant to represent in the background. Like, what is Night Moves? But it looks like something that I would see in a sci-fi program and trying to suck in some sort of aliens or something or other. But H, obviously, with the Night Moves being one of the rarer cards in the set, it doesn't look special. It doesn't really give that effect of I want to collect that card. It's kind of one of them cards that I would see with some of the other like the crunch times in like in the NBA. Like you'd be like, oh, no, that's a nice insert. Well, it's probably worth about 20p, but in fact, it's actually quite rare.
Yeah, it doesn't give off that same vibe of it being a case hit or a big card. You compare it to the likes of your hidden gems, your kaboom, your color blast. It just doesn't have that same sort of, I don't know the right way to put it, but it's that same wow factor. Yeah, it's that same sort of like wow. You put it and think it's a kaboom, it's a color blast. You know, you get night moves, and you only know it's a case hit because you know the night moves are a case hit. But to me, it reminds me of the fireworks insert from Prism.
Yeah,
It's like you just want to think, oh, it's an insert. Yeah, cool. See you later. Like it doesn't give off that same sort of vibe. So whereas, like you said previously, that it had that element about it, where I was like, you know, that's a pretty, I like that. That's a pretty cool card. But they've just tamed it down for some reason with Kaboom and with the night moves, and I don't quite know where or why they've done that. But hey, it's one of them things in it. I say again, it's still a nice card. I say it just doesn't have that same attraction than it did do, obviously, in the last set it was released in.
Yeah, and obviously when we look at the actual configuration of the boxes, I always find that Donruss is one of the hardest sets to watch as like a case break every year when it releases because the sheer quantity of base in Donruss is just crazy. Plus, you get 5 silver base cards in every pack as well, which really deflects the interest of whereas like in Topps releases when you get refractors, it's like 3 or 4 per box, or silvers in Prism where they're shorter print. Like when you're looking through these and you're watching a case break of it, sometimes it can take an hour, hour and a half, potentially a bit more, depending on how quick or slow the breaker go. It's not the easiest of watches, and sometimes you're watching a box where there might be 3 or 4 number cards of 149, 199. That it can be a bit tedious, and breakers as well have said this as well with this release.
It is a tough watch, I can say that for a fact. Having a spot in Donruss and waiting for it to like get through the packs, there's just so many base cards. I think it's like 30 cards a pack, and I think 2/3 of those probably base cards. So it's 20, at least 20 base cards a pack. It's not needed. Like I know people do go for base sets and stuff, but it makes it seem like, I don't know, because it's a £300 product as well. Around there about, and to have that many base cards it just seems a bit. Where's the money going?
Yeah, like I say, I think the perfect thing is if you're a breaker, you have to do a base spot for this break. Because if you had to sort through a case breaker, this base cards, it would not just the hour and a half it would take you to break. It would take you probably a further 2 hours to sort it all out. And you're probably looking like 4 hours. Plus, when you package everything up, ship, you're probably looking 4 to 5 hours worth of time on just one break. And it's just not time effective for anyone. So it is a rather intriguing one. But the actual design of it as well, feels like we're being quite negative on the release, but I'm not even too keen on the actual base card. I've got some of the Donruss cards from previous years, especially one of the last releases that I think they're generally very nice. The optics, especially, you get a real lot of color on it. You get the velocity pattern all over it, and even like the base cards, which are the paper ones, you get a lot of the color, especially the gold thing. But it seems this year that the actual parallel color, it's just not much of the card is actually the parallel. I think one of the main cards that everyone sees was Hendrick's base rookie that was pulled, the rookies one, sorry. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I know this is a 1-of-1, but it doesn't feel like a 1-of-1. And okay, you could probably compare this to your likes of Score and Elite in terms of it is a base product. It's a lower end release. But H, when it comes to this one, it's put on a pedestal, Donruss, because of the name of it. It's synonymous in the world of collecting cards, but it is quite a lower end set. So have we just blown it out of proportion a bit, or is it just a high standard that they've set themselves, like, for example, in the last release?
I do think it's where they've set a benchmark where they have from the previous release that we've expected so much from this release, and for them to almost tame it back down again to where I guess it arguably was, has been, and should be. It's almost like we've forgotten the product that it actually has been like. Well, actually, we're expecting the world from a product that doesn't necessarily have to give the world. You know, you look at it all as a collective with what they've done with, you know, all the different sort of inserts, case hits, and how much sort of they've tamed everything down. And yeah, I think, you know, they've set a benchmark where they've set a benchmark and they equally haven't hit that same benchmark again. So we're automatically thinking this is disappointing compared to last time around. But like you say, it's one of those where you look at it in comparison to Score, for example, and just think actually they shouldn't be too dissimilar in products. But you know, overall, I think that it all boils down to where they set a benchmark at such a high standard from the last release that they've now gone in, you know, somewhat a lower level, and everyone just sort of is the disappointment just sort of cast over everyone. So yeah, it's one of those things. But yeah, I think it's just they've set a benchmark at a certain point that they can't get back up there again.
Yeah, obviously, Lav, I know you previously alluded to you bought a spot in a Donruss break. Is there anything in particular that is it one of them you're just feeling like covering a nerve that you wanted to break something, so you bought a spot into it? Or is there any certain particular cards within it that you're actually going after? Obviously, because it's a different release as well, because it's part club license, part national team license, and some players have international and club. It's a very unique set, but is there anything in particular that draws you into Donruss, or is it more a case of it was a new release, you just wanted to see what it was kind of like?
To be honest, it was me and Jack in the hotel room, and we were watching a breaker, and we just got involved because we were bored. But there is a few cards that I'm looking to get from there. There's Petrovic rookies, also the Chelsea goalkeeper's just come in, which would be quite cool to pick up. Victor Gycores, I think his name is, from Sporting. He's supposed to be quite a good player, and I mean, he is heavily linked to Chelsea at one point, but who wasn't? And yeah, but not really. There's nothing. I didn't even know Chelsea were in it until sort of halfway through the break. Like they started pulling out like a couple of Chelsea parallels. I was like, oh, I didn't realize we're in this. Like, how Panini even got the license to pass in this? Like, but yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a nice set, but I think previous years do beat it, to be honest.
Yeah, like I say, I've got a few cards from the previous releases, and it is a nice set. And I think it'd be one of them sets that people might necessarily not buy into breaks of it, but definitely will potentially pick up singles when they come up on whatever platform or whatever card show they're at. So, like I say, it's going to be quite an intriguing one to follow that one. Obviously, some of the big rookies have been pulled already. One of the Hendrick 101s. Obviously, there's Lamine Yamal's everywhere. Well, when I'm in literally every set, there's tons of Lamine Yamal, all O's, inserts, case hits. So it's going to be milked this year. And obviously, when Hendrick does go to Real Madrid, that's going to be milked whenever it goes into top license. But moving over to one of the other tops releases recently, which is obviously Finest. But then, as of today, Museum's checklist has come out, even though it's not due out for another 3 to 4 weeks. Dynasty, we all remember that dream of having that one soon, but rumours floating around that a certain player hasn't signed his cards yet. rumor is it's Cristiano Ronaldo. So can't really release that without his autos unless they want to go down the redemption route. But moving on to tops, obviously they have had some nice releases. It's quite a big period for them. Obviously, Champions League, Europa League, Conference League. As for recalling, that Europa League final is tomorrow night of when this comes out, which is obviously going to be a great game. Following Wednesday's the Conference League and then the Champions League final. So, H, obviously this is Topps' big license, is the European competitions at the moment as well as the Euros. So, obviously, Topps have come under pressure, and I think it's fair that everyone's going to say this. Finest, Pristine, to name a few, have not been the greatest releases. That Bundesliga Chrome's out this week as well, another one, but they've got to bring out a set that's going to really nail it on the head to drop some of the criticism of recent sets, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think it almost ties into the first talking point of, Topps now taking over the Premier League license, and where they're bringing out products that aren't quite hitting a certain benchmark or aren't quite performing as well as it's first A seemed or B they've made out to be. So I think, unfortunately, it all just rolls into the same topic of what are Topps going to do next. I said obviously they've taken on the Premier League license. They've released some sets recently that haven't done quite as well as people have hoped, wanted, or they might have hoped or wanted. So you're spotting what you're saying. I think Topps, the next release Topps bring out has got to be there's no other way to put it than an absolute belter. They've got to really hit the nail on the head with the next release to keep that same sort of consistency. We know Topps sometimes bring out howlers of releases, or the QC on some of the releases is shocking. So they really need to hit that benchmark on the next release and almost bring that hope, never the right word to use, or bring that sort of the opinion back up to obviously where Topps arguably want it to be. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what set they can bring out next is going to hit that benchmark. Obviously they've got, obviously I'm gathered there'll be a Stadium Club Chrome again this year, hopefully, which obviously was a massive release last season. So yeah, it's only a matter of time to sort of to know what they release next. But yeah, I guess time will tell. But it needs to be a big one.
Yeah, like I say, obviously they did recently release Champions. Well, I always call Champions League, but UCC Finest. I think Finest is one of them sets that originally it was quite a short print set. Obviously, 2 boxes within each master box. You get 2 autos per one. Get quite a lot of numbered parallel cards. But Lav, do you think Finest is one of them that now it's getting a lot more diluted by? Obviously, it's not just the amount of teams involved, the amount of players in the checklist, but it's quite easy now. I know you personally ripped one of the Road to the Euros Finest boxes at Trade Night, the London Car Show, but it's a very hit and miss product now. It's very diluted. Whereas before you used to get quite a lot of cards under 99. It's a very hit and miss. And the auto checklist on it seems to be been pumped a lot up, and there's a lot more base autos than there once was.
Yeah, Eurofinest I thought was quite good actually, compared to the UCC, but I just don't know. I think compared to like previous years, it just doesn't feel the same. I think Finest was a bit more of a premium product before, whereas now it seems to be. I'm not too sure how much it was for a box of UCC, like probably 150 to £200. But yeah, I just don't think it's the same quality as what it was a few years ago. And I don't know if you've seen the Versus autographs, the dual. The design of it, like to have a Messi Ronaldo signature on one of those, I just don't like the design personally. Yeah, that's a personal thing, but I don't know. It just seems very tacky, in my opinion.
No, I think that's one. I think there's been one like accusations / criticism leveled at Topps. Obviously, some of their designs haven't been as nice because a lot of their design. Don't get me wrong, there's still some designs they've set. I think the Prize Footballers, for example, or some of the fusions are incredible looking cards, especially when you get like down to 5s, the red smoke in the background. They can look generally stunning, the cards. So, like I say, it's never going to be. It's ever going to be a release that every single person likes. It's just personal opinion. That's what's so good about the hobby. Someone might want to collect Revolution, but then someone might not like that and then want to collect Sapphire. Someone might want to, which is brings it all around. It's just about personal opinions and what they like to see in person. Like for me, there's certain cards that I would collect that H would have no inkling of ever even going near. Or likewise, me and Lav might really like Topps now cards, and someone else might not like them at all. So it's all opinion at the end of the day. And I think that's what is fantastic about the card world. And leads us perfectly into, obviously, there was a card show last weekend, and we always like pickups. Me and H have got excuses that we actually weren't at the card show, so we can't make pickup. I've got pickups. Funny enough, I was hoping something arrived in time for this episode, and it arrived this morning. So big thanks to USPS and then on to Raw Mail doing their job. I didn't slip an extra tenner, even though I should have to get him out time for the episode. But before obviously I talk to Lab about his pickups, because I know there's some very nice ones in there. H, anything that's like catch your eye in the last couple of weeks, or is it a case of London Car Show was the beginning of the month, so it's waiting for that next paycheck to hit before actually then reloading eBay and them save searches?
Yeah, you've got an element of that. I think for me, I think the next sort of aim, obviously, for those of you who probably would have seen it, obviously, I class it more or less that I've completed, obviously, the Early Guard, Obsidian, Flood, Rainbow. Yes, the Contra probably should be in there, but there is not a single comp of the Contra of Early Guard from Obsidian. So that could be a long waiting game. So I think for me, next is about completing the Arsenal manga. I've got Martinelli, I've got Gabriel in a PSA 10. So it's just Trossard, Havertz, Henry, and Erdegaard obviously left to go. I know there is a Havertz PSA 9, I think it is on eBay. So that's caught my eye. I think most out of everything. Trying to complete, obviously, I've got the Toy Story to 99 dual auto. So trying to get now the Buzz, obviously, and then the Woody to 99 to go alongside that. But yeah, it's just a little bit of everything, I guess. Obviously, you're looking to pick up Erdegaard all the time. But yeah, it's nothing particularly out of my mind at the moment. But they're sort of the ones I'm floating between, I think, at this present moment in time.
Yeah, obviously, I just alluded to I had Sank arrive. Funny enough, hitting a break in America. And obviously, for most Arsenal fans, one of their favourite releases, obviously being biased, but I generally think it was a good release, was the Arsenal team set. And I said going when the checklist come out, I remember saying to H that there was a few that really tickled my pickle, so to speak, in the world of cards. That David O'Leary never had autos before. Arsenal's all-time record appearance maker. Getting them cards in it, I thought was a fantastic thing. So I have had him in 2 different breaks, and this is the best thing about cards. I had him in a 91 box break and hit 1 IC foil parallel, which was just a waste of time. Then I bought him in a 10 boxer and I hit a gold auto. It's not really the best lighting now, but here we go. That's a perfect one there. Gold, 1 of 49. And it's just different. When you get a legend auto, they take care. It's not your rush modern ones of they've signed so many. They take care. It's not smudged. Just lovely. And talk about autos, because I know Lav has got some autos in some of his recent pickups from the Yorkshire Card Show. So you've got to show the people, because there are some very nice ones. And I know you're delving into a world that I'm heavily involved in, obviously the women's side of the hobby. And a certain Chelsea player who's probably the best season, probably going to win player of the season for the Chelsea women's team as well.
Yeah, so starting off with a pretty...
Yeah.
Lauren James Inferno Auto, so that's obviously 75.
Very
Those
nice.
of you that know Ron, obviously, he knows his women's, and that's a pretty nice one, I think.
Yeah,
So
no,
I think
the Inferno Parallel doesn't get the credit it deserves within cards, because they had a similar one in the men's UCC product, but that women's Inferno first year and second year is just so clean of a design.
Yeah, definitely. And then another one, a couple of slabs. So we've got a Fractal, it's 25 of Romeo Lavia. Trying to pick him up whilst his price is down.
Very nice.
That's a nice one. PSA not. Oh, nearly dropped it. PSA 9. And then the last one's a bit of a different one. But it's in my Grail Guard display case thing. It's a Mudrik to 25 Orange Mojo Tops Japan. And I only picked it up because I've got the exact same for the Enzo, also in a PSA 8. So they're both PSA 8s, and they go quite nicely alongside each other in the Grail Card free K card slab holder magic thing.
Yeah, I've got to say it's a very nice one. And obviously, you haven't got it in hand at the moment, but going along the orange tops parallel theme, Obviously, you was in a break last night of our good friends over at LavBreaks. Obviously, Jack and Charlie were breaking 2 6 boxes of women's chrome, and you did hit a nice women's card to 25. Obviously, delving a bit more in the women's side, which I think is probably my insufferable mention of it on the podcast every week that you've actually gone in to get it. But you did hit a very nice Macario as well for the PC.
I did. I have a sapphire card of hers in front of me. Yeah, that was quite a nice one. I'm a big fan of our 25 oranges. I just don't know what it is about them. The fact they're orange in Panini and Topps helps. It's just like, I don't know. I just love the way it pops, especially if it's graded.
Oh, yeah, is that going to be a potential grade then, the Catalina Macario, when it comes back? Obviously dependent on condition. But then it could go well if it does get an 8 because you could just put it in the slab with the rest of them.
That is very true, actually. There you go. Yeah, it definitely probably will be going after grade, and I've got quite a few cards at grade at the moment, and I'm just waiting for them to come back. But yeah, the card case for the next few shows should be pretty well stocked up.
I was going to say, I was very, very fortunate in this. Let's put it this way: sometimes you can get lucky in breaks, and that was definitely just. I was very lucky last night. It was 2 6 boxes. I had only got involved in the first 6 boxes, so the same people I had in the first one in comparison to the second one just didn't do as well. But for lucky for me, I was in it. So first spot I bought was Ada Hegerberg and Wendy Renard. Funny enough, I bought that near enough at the same time I bought the dual auto. Hit a couple of Hegerbergs, so that was nice. Benfica, I think there was one Reisler to like 299. And then it was quite a funny thing. So a filler, for anyone who doesn't really do breaks, a filler's normally when there's like a few, like 1 or 2 spots left, sometimes a bit more, they break it down into smaller prices. So say, for example, it was Sam Kerr and Alexia Portalas left. It comes to around the £75 mark. So 10 spots, £7.50. And then it was funny enough, it was a duck race. First place took Sam Kerr, last place took Portalas. So it was the first time ever I've cheered my duck to be fat and slow. It took after me for one race and it was fantastic. I did manage to take home the Alexia Portalas spot and lucky enough hit a fierce case hit to 25, which is a stunning card. I have the same one in Beth Mead. And then the true luck slide when I bought Roma for a grand total of £6. And I hit a Emilia Harvey card. Obviously, she played over 100 games for the Norwegian national team. So even despite being a rookie in the set, she is 31 years old. But 1 of 1 is a 1 of 1. It was my first ever 1 of 1. But I've hit the breaks. I'm absolutely over the moon with that one. So I should have that in hand for next week's episode, which will be a good one to show off. However, we're talking about cards a lot. And I don't think the people could let me get away with. But before we talk about a certain occurrence in the match, obviously the Yorkshire charity match, the first one of its kind, happened last Saturday. And I've got to admit, congratulations to Adam and the team. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Sadly, couldn't be there. But from a perspective of watching it, was absolutely brilliant. Obviously, sadly for everyone watching it, had to listen to GBW for 90 minutes, pulling off all of the puns, all of the gimmicks, but give him credit, him and Harry done an absolute fantastic job on commentary. And obviously, H, I know you was out enjoying and indulging within the London culture on Saturday, but what a spectacle to watch. And it was one of them that you was watching just thinking, I wish I was, even if it weren't playing or commentating, just wish I was in the ground.
Oh, I mean, yeah. Any other weekend, any other way around, I'd love to have been there, either watching, taking part, commentating, whatever it would have been. But yeah, an incredible event, absolutely incredible event. The first, obviously, charity football match, obviously within the hobby thus far, and I mean, Adam set the bar at such a level that incredible. I mean, I was going to go the opposite to what you said and say a massive well done to Harry and Jeeves obviously for their commentating, but I guess there was some suffering involved in that for having to listen to Jack's voice and his puns and his wit for 90 minutes. But it's one of those experiences where it's just unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure Lav's got a different sort of experience, obviously from playing in the match, and he knows he's had this coming for him. He knows he's been building up to that moment in the podcast where he's been dreading it. So I don't know if we delve into it now, Ron, or you want to leave it to you to bring up. But
I was just going to say, obviously, we had to get the retention in. Everyone's literally just been tuning in for the last 50 minutes or however long this is going, just for this. But besides obviously about the incident we're going to talk about, how was it, Lav? Like the overall experience? Obviously, it must be a bit different having the card show first, and then obviously walking down to the change rooms, getting trained and all that. But like the overall day as a whole, was it quite a different experience? Because the card show, and then whereas normally you delve into a bar somewhere, you're actually then going down to play a 90 minutes. So it's quite a different experience, I can imagine.
Yeah, it's nice to do a card show not on a hangover for once, I have to admit. But yeah, it was a great day. It's one of the best days I've had in RB for sure. Despite what happened to myself personally, like, yeah, I really enjoyed it, and yeah, hats off to Adam and the team because it went so smoothly as well. There didn't seem any problems at all, apart from his hamstring anyway.
But I've got to ask the question. But let me premise that all world-class players do miss penalties at one point in their career. And we always say about redemption arcs in sport. This is going to be a redemption arc for the ages. Hopefully there will be a game 2 of the Yorkshire charity match, or wherever it may take part in the country. But is the Lav redemption arc already in this? Have you been practicing in the garden? Have you been doing a Calder Dragon in the garden? Will we be seeing these progress updates along the way? But what was going through the mind? Because, like I say, no doubt with these charity matches, normally, I know you said before, it's whoever wins the penalty takes it. So you probably was you even in the mindset that you was going to take the penalty when you had the ball in your hand initially?
Well, so I'll run you through the whole thing. What happened was Con was obviously fouled, Con Sports Cards in the box and got the penalty. And I went over just to sort of say, like, well done for winning the penalty, etc. And straight away, he's like, before I even said anything, he's like, go on, Lav, you take it. And I was like, oh, no. in my head, I was like, oh, I was not expecting him to say that at all. The way he'd been playing as well, I was expecting him to take it, absolutely bang it, put us back to, and we'd be back on. Because I think we were on top of that game. And yeah, he gave the ball to me. When I had the ball, I was like, you know, I can do it. I can do it. I chose the bottom right, and I was like, that's it. I'm just going bottom right. And then I took the first step, and I was like, everything came into my head at once. And I ended up going the other way, and it was a terrible penalty. Like, everyone saw it, and it was awful. And it was hats off to Luke as well. It was a good save. He got down very well, but yeah, it's been in my head for the last 72 hours or however long it's been. And as soon as I got home, I was in the garden practicing penalties for about 8 hours, I think, on Sunday. But yeah, it's one of those things. At the end of the day, it's all for charity. So, yeah, I still had such a great day, and despite that, so I'm still thanking Adam for everything and putting me in there as is an honour, really.
But I'd say the big question, they ask it to all the top level sportsmen when they miss a penalty. Say, for example, flip it 365 days forward. The ball is back in your hand. Will you be stepping up to take the penalty again, or are you going to do a Con Sports card and just give it to someone else?
Oh no, I'm 100% taking it again.
That's what we see. That's what we like to hear. Like, you know what I mean? No, it's got to be redemption arc is en route.
What are you going to do different? You get that ball back in your hand. You put it down on the penalty spot. What's going to go differently if the keeper's not watching this podcast right now?
I'm just going to put my foot through it and lever it. There's no like. I just don't know. I don't know why I didn't. Like, it's just in the moment. Like, I don't think I've ever hit the ball so badly in my life.
Have you slept since?
No. I need help.
It's not one of those where you can't even see it's recorded. It's on YouTube. You put it on your Instagram story. Listen, Lav, I'm not here trying to haunt you. I'm really not. But you know, you've got that now where you can have that on your phone, and if you ever feel a certain way, you've got to watch that and think, I need to do better.
Yeah, it's going to be a big motivation, I think, for the next game. Should I get invited?
After that, you're not getting invited back.
Yeah, I mean, no, I might get invited because I was on the other team to Adam, so he might think, oh yeah, he might do it again. But yeah, I've watched the video at least 10 times, I think, probably since. I just don't know what's going through my head. Like, it's just there's no explanation for it really. Like, but it is what it is. There's always next year, and next time I'm going to score a hat trick. So
I was going to say there was one thing in particular.
Flip it.
Yeah, clip it. He said it now. Now this is on YouTube as well. No, but there was one thing I was very impressed with your performance when I see you walk back onto the pitch when there was the penalty shootout with a beer in your hand, and I think that's the love we all know and love. It was like, yeah, beer time. It was beer. I heard it on commentary. It was beer o'clock. He's got one now, and I think that was the thing of at the end of the day, it was just a get together with a load of mates who have the same hobby, same interests, and like you say, it's a day that no one's going to forget in terms of everyone who played, and the people watched along as well. And no doubt, I bet you're going to be a big advocate for it returning for a second year.
oh, without a doubt, and I'm going to make sure that I'm on the beers for the right reason this time. But yeah, I think I went up to the commentary, and Jack was like, "You need this." I sunk one straight away, and he gave me another one. Last one I went back down, and we ended up actually winning the penalty shootout, probably because I didn't take one. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd love to do it again with everyone who was there and more. I think it'd be great to do it at a few more card shows even. It'd be such a pull for me to be picked to go into another game and go to a card show, even if it was in like Scotland or something. I'd be so up for it.
Yeah, like I say, Redemption Arc is loading 2.0. Hopefully it will make, so like I say, it'd be a massive thing, not for people just watching it along, people taking part, whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, the most important thing, there was a very good amount of money raised for two absolutely fantastic charities, which was the aim of the whole story from Adam and the team. And like we say, it's a massive congratulations to everyone who gave up their time, whatever it may have been to raise that money. But like I say, it's, at the end of the day, two great causes have got great amount of money. And that's one thing everyone will say at the end of the day. We'll take your hat off, raise a glass, whatever it was. Well done to Adam and the team for raising good money for charity. And at the end of the day, it's going to be definitely, I think, one of them that's going to be synonymous with him. And it's going to be a case of now he's done it once. It's going to be a big task to live up to for the second one. So like we say, hopefully we'll see a second edition of that. And hopefully there might be some other people involved. Like we say, we had Troy over for this one. Hopefully, who knows who could turn up the next one. So obviously going back to the cards now, just to end off this episode, obviously it's quite a busy time in the card world in terms of, even though the card shows are still rolling on, they're not as many as it will be for the next couple of weeks, so to speak. So it might be a bit of a quiet one, end of the season, building into Euro. So H, it's obviously taking a backward step now for the Euros. There is, don't get me wrong, there's quite a few releases coming out, Bundesliga as well, which obviously my fancy, but I couldn't go a whole episode without announcing the Bayer Leverkusen Legacy Drop Set. Oh, what a release. I can't wait to get that one. So hopefully, I think tail end of June, that's expected to be delivered, and I can't wait to be opening that one. But hey, it's just obviously everyone's spirits are a bit higher now. The sun's been out for a couple of days. Don't look at the forecast, everyone, because it does say rain. Oh, there's a Topps Now card on cue with the main man Granit Xhaka in it. But hey, obviously sun's shining. Bank holiday weekends upon us. It's just a great time. And more importantly, there's some good cards out there as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. You know, the market is definitely booming at the moment. So the sun's out, beers are out, beer gardens are back out. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be a good few months. Also with the Euros around the corner as well, a lot to look forward to. And yeah, it's just hopefully a good few months. Hopefully England do well, and then yeah, straight back into the Premier League.
Yeah, and obviously, Lav, it's your favourite part of the season because every time you're linked with a new player at Chelsea, you're obviously going to look at their rookie cards, which ones are available. So that normally does take up pretty much every minute of your waking hour because every player and every team is linked to someone at some point. But obviously, with the Euros and other things, it's a lovely time. Obviously, building now, it's like that. Everything runs in thirds. So we're past like the London card show now, past the Yorkshire card show. Obviously, you've got Scotland card shows coming up soon. Some of the up north ones. You've got the Kent one this weekend, to name just a few. But it's just, like we say, it's a great time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to what's next. Next card show that I've got booked. I don't know. I think it might be next London one, unless anything else comes up in between. So yeah, really looking forward to that. Obviously, the off season with Chelsea. You see, look who they inevitably will be linked with. And yeah, the Euros is going to be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to that, especially in Germany, one of mine and Ronnie's favourite places to go.
Oh yeah, definitely. There will be a trip in 2024 planned for the lovely city of Cologne, most likely. And if we can, we'll be making another trip to the Invincibles, obviously, by Leverkusen. But obviously, Lav, obviously, an absolute pleasure to have you on board yet again for another episode of the podcast. Obviously, a lot of people would have gone into their shell and would have gone off the radar for a while. But don't worry, mate. It's another week. There's more beers to have. And obviously, for us, the Premier League darts final this Thursday. So we would be having a good time, which no doubt we might actually have a sign saying Tops bring out some darts cards. We might have to do that for a laugh. But Lav, massive thank you for joining us. And obviously, please, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, wherever it may be, get some of them penalties on there because I actually want to see your record in the garden, mate.
I'll have to start taking some videos then. I'm just waiting for the inevitable clip of Luke Sol uploading with his 1 million TikTok followers of him saving a penalty. I'm absolutely dreading it.
But yeah, like I say, don't worry. There's always a beer when that comes out. I'll take you for a beer. That's a promise from us. There you go. There's a Stella getting down. But obviously, H, another fantastic episode. Obviously, some brilliant talking points with Tops Panini, Donruss, Finest, whatever it may be. Obviously, the absolute incredible show up at Yorkshire as well. But any closing words from yourself?
No. I think obviously we've obviously got a lot planned over the next couple of weeks. So looking forward to obviously the next few podcasts. But no, yeah, obviously a lot to talk about this episode. Obviously a great charity football match. Obviously some somewhat anticlimactic sort of information / news. But oh yeah, obviously looking forward to what's obviously coming up next week.
Yeah, like I say, a massive thank you for every single person who's tuned in, watched, whatever it may be of this episode. Hope everyone out there is doing well, staying safe, and your families are also good. Enjoy your bank holiday weekend if you are at least not in the office for 5 minutes of it. Have a nice drink or a barbecue if the weather does stay nice. But hopefully everyone out there is buying, selling, trading, and all that good jazz. But most importantly, happy hobbying and good night.